So if you look at the if you look at the daily chart, we have this inside day on the daily. So the high and low are contained within Thursday's high and low. Typically, we're gonna have an expansion day after that follows. That's the only reason I'm looking at Monday to expand. I'm gonna go really quickly here. So if you want to go back and pause, you can. We dropped into this daily volume imbalance there. We also have SMT with the previous day low with YM. So our previous day low is right around there. The 1 a.m. candle swept it there, and then on YM we failed to sweep the previous day low. So bullish SMT. Okay, you can go back and pause it there if you want. And now we're looking at the profiles for the session. We'll have London open here, kind of consolidates, creates low resistance, relative equal highs. We also have relative equal highs up here as the current draw on liquidity. We drop down into New York open, create the SMT, and we expand up, and we have a change in the state of delivery through here. That to me indicates we want to continue moving up for the London close session, or targeting the London close session. So as we approach the rest of New York open, so 9:30, you could look to long in there. I opted out of, I wanted to see if we wanted to get a deep retracement into this IRL first, because we're looking for an open low high close technically. We never got that. We got SMT on the short-term lows. So if I go back, we look at the SMT here, short-term lows in here, short-term lows in here, obviously manipulated at YM. So that would be the SMT I was looking for. And then once I saw that, now we're looking at PD raise, and PD raise should hold as long as the drawn liquidity is correct. That's just how it works. So we got our first presentation gap there used, order block was touched, SMT with YM obviously present, and then we have now this down closing candle with the inefficiency, chose to go long within that. Also, as we touch this bullish order block, and I'm looking now for previous day high as the current drawn liquidity. I'll keep it one tick above. Also targeting time of day. So this is actually our target. If I move this vertical to the middle, which will move to the top, this becomes our target for time of day. And the reason we're targeting after 10 a.m. is because that's London close. So for the session profile, we're looking for London open, New York open, and then London close to make the high of the day is what I'm expecting, but within this range. So our targets would be Asian session liquidity, previous day liquidity. That's price targets, right? That's a 15-minute or 60-minute PD array that lines up with it. So if we, if you wanted to mark this out, that's our 15-minute PD array. And then our time target is anything after 10 a.m. So we could look for 10 a.m. for like basically right here for perfect on time. This is what we're going to be targeting. Make this a bit darker. That's the crosshair and price that we're targeting. Or if we want to expand even further, then we can look for here, which would be our Thursday buy side liquidity. And you drop down. This would be any time past really 10:30, which is what we normally look for. Then I'd be looking for if we can reach up into that. Okay, and obviously our 5-minute order flow is bullish, so we don't need to see it change the state anywhere on the 5-minute. 15-minute SMT already showed you that. So now we're looking at just tape reading price and looking at how all the PD rays hold. This technically would be a propulsion block as we dug into this previous down closing candle. And the reason that I marked out this order block with just the wick and the candle body is because that's going to be the most sensitive area, especially when it lines up with a gap like this. So I'm not going to mark, you can obviously mark out this. That would be the best entry right there, is off the open of the candle. The wick to open is the most sensitive part, and we should not see consequent encroachment touched after that. So for the most part, it looks like a really high quality setup. I could trim stop to there too if I wanted to. I'm going to move it to below consequent mean threshold of this order block. So right there. Now we'll just let it play out. We're also trading to the new week opening gap. Be mindful of that. So we're going to get some resistance here. I'll turn this on. And then the 5-minute, we're looking for speed bumps in price. Well, we do have this large inefficiency that we could get a retracement here during the New York session. Sorry, during the macro session here. I know I'm going a little bit quick, but I apologize. And we do have some other speed bumps. This 5-minute inefficiency here. 15-minute. It's not too bad. So I'm going to mark this 15-minute gap out. That's going to be important. So this will be an inversion for value gap preferably. And that's all we really need to have on our chart at this point. So notice how the bullish PD rays are holding going into 9:30. So 9:30 we open. We're already expanding towards London high there. That could have been the first draw on liquidity. But we're looking at time of day. So 10 a.m. needs to preferably form that new high. So any high that's formed up until 10 a.m. Is an incorrect time of day. Now, after 10 a.m., that's when we look to see, okay, do we want to reverse now back into the range and then consolidate? Or do we want to retrace at 10 a.m., fill another inefficiency, preferably on the 15-minute chart, and then expand into further into London close? So we're looking at normally that extra range between 10:30 and 11 o'clock to form that high, or even all the way up to 12. 12 is really the finish of London close. So the full London close goes from 10 to 12. So other times we can expand would be all the way into there, but preferably between 10:30 and 11 is when you want to see time of day and price hit for the indices. So expanding up to that time of day would be likely if we get a retracement at 10 a.m. But here's macro time. We're looking for a potential reclaimed BISI entry. I might consider pyramiding actually on this if you get the opportunity. Put a limit order there. Actually, there's a volume bounce there. I'm going to see if I can get that. It wants to come down into there. Turtle soup, basically, on this short-term low. If I can tag the volume bounce one last time and then trade back up, it'd be optimal. If not, it's all good. So look how this inversion for value gap, I didn't mark out the entire 5-minute one, but the 15-minute one, we traded up past it, and now we're coming back down. So this initial run above the inversion gap, that's a good sign, right? We're closing above the inversion gap. We can come back down as a slight retracement into discount of this dealing range, or fill in a volume balance or tag any reclaim BISI that needs to be tagged. And this will still serve its purpose. So it ran it first, traded up through it, closed above. We're dropping down back into discount, short-term retracement, and then as we expand above it again, whenever we close back above, I want to see it used as support. Same thing with the new week opening gap. Notice how we're closing around 50%. It's not closing below it, but we want to see that new expansion into time of day. Asian session, this blue line up here is an ERL, so that would technically be a reasonable draw on liquidity. I normally don't look to target Asian session as a draw, just because if we're targeting Asian, we're going to go past it. If we're looking at the daily accumulation, and I can talk about that later. But previous day high would make sense, right? And look how now we're speeding up into, I don't think we're going to get this limit order filled, so I'm going to remove that. Speeding up into time of day. And when you look at this like this, I think it makes just a whole lot more sense, right? Open, we drop down, we have all this low resistance liquidity. London session accumulates. Time of day low, 7:30. That's the right time for New York open. Then we expand into the rest of New York open into London close. All right, so like once you just look at key time, key level, SMT, there's your turtle soup entry. You can get really good at finding low day, high day within that range. Now you have a bullish order block. Now notice how we close above this inversion gap on the 15. We're going to come back in and touch this. There's just so much information I want to relay, but I know it's probably pretty quick, but order block. So now we're just going to, I'll try and stay hands off and talk very little as we continue to expand up into time of day. Now, if this is ran before 10 o'clock, then I would just look at, as soon as we hit 10 o'clock, I'm going to close this out. So I guess we could put it a little bit above that. And what you could do is take fib projections on that range and see if there's any reasonable target above too, like here. And see if that lines up with anything. Yeah, it's not bad. So order block, BISI, all these are PD arrays that should be holding price up now, right? As long as our drawn liquidity is correct, our PD arrays will hold. So coming back into that inversion gap on the 15, I want to see that use as support as well as the bottom portion of the new week opening gap, as well as this bullish order block, as well as this inefficiency. Now, sometimes we can see here is 10 a.m. If we had 10 a.m. news, that's the driver that pushes us up. So it's like a speed up in price. High quality macro entry, actually. We'll go along there. Trim stop. So time and price. Gonna turn off the new week opening gap now. So my stop is in a reasonable position that would invalidate the trade idea. And invalidate the trade idea means both wrong drawn liquidity or wrong time to enter. So if it came down and took out the stop, for me that would just mean that I looked at it the wrong time. Like maybe the drawn liquidity is right, the previous day high, but the time I entered at was incorrect. So we have about 3 minutes till 10 a.m. We are slightly behind schedule for looking at this as the target. So I'd like to see expansion probably further into end of macro, like 10-10-ish. I also want to see once we take out this short-term high, I would imagine we get some speed and price. Now, this is not a limit. So just because we don't reach this price point at the time doesn't mean we're not going to expand into it. But like I said, we're looking at retracement. If 10 a.m. forms that retracement like that, we're going to look at 10:30 after that. And we have the bias of liquidity all the way up here, which given the fact we have the inside day on Friday, that's the reason why we're looking for Thursday's high. Candle bodies in here are closing above mean threshold of this bullish order block. Not really looking too much about the gap. I'm looking at how we're holding this order block. And technically, any swing high here formed above this after 10 a.m. would be a partial opportunity. That would be the new high formed at 10 a.m. I'm still looking for previous day high because that's a 15-minute PD right now. It's swing high on the 1 minute. So here comes 10 a.m. Nice expansion up. If we displace through that swing high that I've marked with the green line, then I'll probably move stop to this 952 swing low. But I want to see a healthy candle closing outside of this gap. Optimally, this low would never be ran out. It is now an intermediate term low. I'm not saying we could, but best case scenario, we don't touch this. That would be like a really, really tight stop there. So if you're able to put it on that swing low. But given the most recent dealing range between here and here, that's 50%. I don't know where I had my stop before that. Not going to lie. So now we closed outside of the gap here. Look for expansion through. So we preferably should not touch back into this order block after we take out that swing high if we can get it with displacement. So I want to see like these kind of candles here. Displacement candles, large up closing with inefficiencies forming. So since we're kind of slightly behind schedule, we're not going to reach this at 10 a.m. I would expect now we're going to reach further into London close. So 10:30-ish. But that's still the draw right in there. Given it is Monday too, so I guess we can expect some slightly difficult. So partial opportunity there. I'm going to choose not to. All right, so that's our new high. And if you look at our 15-minute chart, there's our new high formed right at 10 a.m. Start of London close. Easy enough, right? So that'd be enough. I do think we're going to probably reach up in the previous day high, given the fact we're just expanding like this. So I'm not going to take a partial off yet. So there's our that's the expansion I wanted to see. Possible immediate rebalance here. Coming down, filling out the wick. I want to see where this candle closes. If it closes back up above here, then we're going to see expansion through. So this is where emotions can build. Right, we're getting close to TP. Time of day is correct. And the new trader is going to be looking at this. This is what they're focused on. Which, to be honest, I'm going to turn this off. That's not what I want. You should be focused on this. This is where your eyes need to go. So how is price holding these levels? Just formed a new high at time of day. Are we not going to ever turn back into discount? Or are we going to continue to hold it? So there's our immediate rebalance. It closed all the way through. Preferably, we wanted to see the wick. Now, I'm tempted if we take out this high. I'm trying to see if you go back 5-minute chart. There's not a whole lot of inefficiencies in there. 15-minute. Nothing in there, really. Nice expansion up there. So I'm pretty confident that we're going to reach draw. Asian session, like I said, we should smash through this. It's not going to stop there and reverse all the way back down. So at this point, moving stop to break even is reasonable. Above break even. You can turn this back on now just for fun. There's previous day high ran through. Better fill me. Thank you. And now this -2 standard deviations is just extra, really. I'm going to jam this. But that's the whole business. Let me see if I can turn all these off. Take a screenshot really quick. Actually, I'll leave it on for now. Screenshot. So there's a displacement. We got the immediate rebalance, touch the order block there. Now we're getting inefficiencies forming, and inefficiencies indicate speed, right? So preferably, we're looking for new time of day till 10:30, and the price would be up here. But I mean, now you can hopefully see if this was our original target, we missed it by six minutes. We missed it, and now you have a price and a time aspect. Where if this is our drawn liquidity instead of a line as our drawn liquidity, it becomes much easier to focus. Okay, so are we on schedule? Are we still forming the inefficiencies that we need to hold? And if we're dipping down here, right at 10 a.m., then we're thinking about, okay, now we're going to expand it to 10:30 if our drawn liquidity is correct. So it must be a crosshair of price. Time and price both need to align. So stop there is going below the bullish order block. We also formed an inefficiency here, so optimally we don't see it close through that. So there's a logic behind that stop placement. I do want to see 1 minute candle closures above this previous day high. If we're just wicking it constantly, then I'm not going to be too happy about that. So now at this point, we could see a deep retracement. We do have this 15-minute inefficiency and 5-minute inefficiencies in order blocks and such that we could reach for. So I'm weighing. I mean, the stop's in a good position, so I'm not too mad about it. We already have a decent range that we've captured. So if it comes back and stops me out, it is what it is. But I would like to squeeze as much as I can out of this. Okay. Let me see if I can screenshot this. But this is in a different chat that I sent. Disregard my name. But this is what I sent. Expansion into 10 a.m. minimum, preferably deeper into London close kill zone as we reach previous day high. So that was at 927, right around there. So same thing, same exact logic that I sent into the prophecy group chat, the server. Set at 9:40, 10 a.m. is an important time. Watch what we do around there. 9:30 failed to manipulate into the IRL. Sell SMT with YM, also left behind some liquidity. Thursday's high would be the last bias liquidity I'd be interested in from Monday expansion. It's up here. And then on the daily bias, previous day high makes sense as stall, but look for 10 a.m. and beyond it for to be reached. So here's straight from the daily bias from today. Previous day high, and 10 a.m. right there. So notice how we're holding this inefficiency decently well. Now we're allowing for it to return back into this order block if it's needed. So this has been ran through. That's why we don't use Asian session as a drawn liquidity typically. All right, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to trim this down to here. That'd be 4 standard deviations from the full 5-minute breaker down at the reversal leg. So I think that's reasonable rather than the random -2 standard deviations we pulled from here. Was it here? And it was here? Yeah, right there. I mean, it does work, but I'd rather use a better logic than this random retracement leg up to -2. This would be a propulsion block. So optimally, we don't see mean threshold even traded to. That's the full fair value gap. So let's see if we can touch this and then retrade back up into the high. Order block there. Stop is in profit. Take profit is in profit. So hands off. I mean, now look at this. This is 10:08. That's wrong time in my definition of drawn liquidity. Like, I think that's too far into 10 a.m. where I don't think that's going to be the new time to high. I would like to see it into 10:30. But this is where you can get a retracement into the dealing range. The most recent dealing range would be, I guess, from here to here. It's the most recent child dealing range. So dropping to 50% there. The full extent of the dealing range would be from basically New York Open. That's the full range from here to here. Right, so if you wanted to drop back into that, then we'll get stopped out. Let's see how the order block holds as we reach for new draw. I'm just setting up a poll right now, so I'm still watching this, but on the other screen, I'm doing something else. Poll, market review, or so nice touch on the order block. Candle buys closing beautifully above the opening price. We're now using this BISI as a reclaimed BISI, and I preferably see it expand from here up into that swing high that we have. Now, I mean, you could obviously be looking for time of day again, 10:30. I'm not that greedy. I don't need to see it trade all the way up into Thursday high. And with the given range of, I don't know how far this is already, it's 80 points or so. Perfectly happy with that, given it's a Monday. Or trade video. So I mean, not the most amount of extra points, 9, 10 extra points, but able to squeeze it out. And there is the final fill on the day. So you could be looking for new time day, new time of day. But I'm gonna screenshot this, put it in future trades. And I'm tempted, do I leave this running for 10:30? The recording another 15 minutes. I don't really care to. So if you want to go back in and study this day on what happens, you can. But I mean, given the fact that we're expanding nicely, I would expect 10:30 onwards, we're going to reach the Thursday bias of liquidity. But overall, buying at the lows, selling at the highs, PD raise holding, markup, framework on the bias given. So overall, I think it was a really fantastic execution. And yeah, if we want to recap, I put the poll up. It's a good one to study for. I'm not trying to toot my own horn. This is one to study for. It's obviously taken on demo, so do with that as you will. But it's good study of bias, entering, reading PD arrays, time of day, all that stuff is important. So I'll wrap up this recording here, and I'll post it into models and reviews if you want to cover it. Otherwise, I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.